They say life begins at 40, but if you had met me 3 years ago at the age of 39, you would have said my life was already over. I wasn't a criminal, I wasn't an addict. I was something much worse. I was invisible. I was the guy you walked past in the grocery store and immediately forgot. I was the employee who had been in the same cubicle for 12 years, overlooked for every promotion simply because I never raised my hand. I was 40 pounds overweight. My wife had left me 2 years prior. Not because of an affair, and not because of abuse. She left because she said she felt like she was living with a ghost. Someone who had no passion, no drive, and no fire. I remember the night everything changed. It wasn't a dramatic car crash. It wasn't a winning lottery ticket. It was a Tuesday. I was sitting on my secondhand couch, eating cold takeout, scrolling through social media on my phone. I saw a photo of a friend from high school. He was standing on top of a mountain in Peru, smiling, looking fit, looking alive. I looked at him. Then I looked at my reflection in the black screen of the TV. And for the first time in 20 years, I felt something other than numbness. I felt pure, unadulterated disgust. I realized I was halfway to death, and I hadn't even started living yet. That night I went down a rabbit hole on the internet. I was looking for a cheat code, a quick fix. How to get rich, how to get fit, how to be happy in 30 days. But then I found a post on Reddit. It wasn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It was a concept called No 0 Days. The rule was simple. You don't have to be a hero. You don't have to run a marathon. You just have to make sure that the number of things you do towards your goal is not 0. If you want to get fit and you can't go to the gym, do 1 push-up. Just 1. That's a non-zero day. If you want to write a book, write 1 sentence. If you want to fix your finances, save $1. It sounded stupid. It sounded too easy. But I was desperate. The next morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. Usually, I slept until the last possible second. I stood in my kitchen. The sink was full of dishes that had been there for a week. The old me would have ignored them, but I whispered to myself, no 0 days. I washed 1 plate, then I washed a fork. And then, for some reason, I just kept going. 10 minutes later, the sink was empty. It was a small victory, a microscopic victory. But for a man who had been losing for a decade, that clean sink looked like a trophy. I wish I could tell you that after that day, everything was a movie montage. I wish I could say the weight fell off and the money poured in. It didn't. The first 3 months were hell. I started going to the gym. I was the oldest, fattest guy in the free weight section. I felt eyes on me. I felt the shame burning the back of my neck. I could barely lift the bar. I started studying again. I wanted to get out of data entry and into software development. Do you know how hard it is to learn Python when you haven't studied since 1999? My brain felt like it was covered in rust. I would stare at the screen for hours, understanding nothing, feeling like a failure. There was a night in November. It was freezing. My car broke down on the way back from the gym. I was tired, my muscles ached, I was broke, and now I was stranded on the side of the highway. I sat on the hood of my car and I cried, I'm a grown man, and I sobbed. I shouted at the sky, why is this so hard? Why can't I just be happy with being average? But then I remembered the ghost. The ghost of the man my ex-wife left. The ghost who sat on the couch and waited to die. I wiped my face. I called a tow truck. And while I waited in the cold, I pulled out my phone. I didn't open Instagram. I opened my coding app. I did 5 minutes of practice. No 0 days. Here is the thing about consistency that nobody tells you. It's boring. It's incredibly painfully boring. Change doesn't happen with fireworks. It happens in the quiet moments. It happens at 5 a.m. when you choose to get up instead of hitting snooze. It happens when you choose the salad instead of the burger, not once, but 100 times in a row. 6 months passed, then a year. I looked in the mirror one morning and I didn't recognize the face looking back. The bloat was gone, my eyes were clear. My jawline, which I hadn't seen since college, was back, but the biggest change wasn't physical. It was mental. I had built a portfolio of projects. I started applying for jobs. I got rejected, again and again and again. But the old me would have taken rejection as proof that I was worthless. The new me saw rejection as data. What did I do wrong? How can I fix it? I kept pushing. 18 months into my journey, I landed an interview at a tech startup. I was 10 years older than the hiring manager. I walked in there wearing a suit I had bought at a thrift store and tailored myself. They asked me, why should we hire you over these fresh graduates who are faster and younger? I looked them in the eye and I said, because they have talent. But I have hunger. I know what it's like to waste a life, and I am running out of time. I will work harder than anyone in this building because I know the cost of sitting still. I got the job. That was 2 years ago. Today I make 3 times my old salary. I've run 2 half marathons. I'm dating a woman who loves me for who I am, not who I pretend to be. But recently, I ran into an old colleague from my previous life. The invisible life. He looked at me, shocked. He said, "Man, you're so lucky. You just turned it all around." I smiled, but I wanted to shake him. Lucky? He didn't see the 4 a.m. alarms. He didn't see the cold showers. He didn't see the lonely Friday nights I spent learning to code while my friends were at the bar. He didn't see the time I cried on the hood of my broken-down car. He saw the result. He didn't see the fire. I'm telling you this story not to brag. I'm telling you this because I know you. You are listening to this right now. Maybe in your car, maybe in your bed, maybe at a job you hate. You feel like you've missed the boat. You feel like you're too old, too broke, or too far gone to change. You look at your past and you see a graveyard of failed attempts. I am here to tell you that you are wrong. It does not matter if you're 20, 40, or 60. The only thing that separates you from the person you want to be is the lie you keep telling yourself. The lie that you need to be perfect to start. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be non-zero. Forgive yourself for the time you wasted. That time is gone. You cannot buy it back with guilt. But the future? The future is an unwritten check. Start today. Not tomorrow. Today. Wash 1 plate. Do 1 push-up. Read 1 page. Be the hero of your own movie. Because let me tell you from experience, the view from the other side of hell is beautiful. Don't let the credits roll on your life before the story has even begun. Wake up. Make today a non-zero day.